Welcome to another edition of the glittery full complement bones of advertising today. I'm Craig McLeod. Love that I have you on board. Nice to see you all.
Hello. Hi.
Yeah.
Lovely to be here. Lovely to be here. But people back in the office, or is that just a photo behind you, Caro? Are you back in the office?
I am today.
Look at you.
Yeah.
Pretty.
Gallivanting around town.
You're a bit of a
I'm
nomad at the moment, aren't you? You're a bit homeless.
I'm a total nomad.
Wow.
Just go where the electricity is.
Well, today I'd really like to take a look at something that just tickled my my friend that he's kind of got a big grin on his face at the moment. I'd like to have a look at an ad. So we just jump straight in and have a little look at this one. What do you think?
Let's do this.
Is that you?
Was that, did he just...
He did.
Cool.
Hilux, an unbreakable connection. Oh, what a feeling. Toyota.
Okay, because you came up with it, my boy, I'm going to let you start with just a little bit of what do you think?
I really like this. I don't know if it goes back to Unbreakable in a clear, logical kind of way, but I just love the idea that people don't buy stuff when they're asleep. I think you've got to entertain people, and I think this ad does exactly that. I love
That's
the
a good
look
point,
on the
mate. It's
girl's
hard to buy
face.
something while you're asleep.
It's very hard. Like I just love the look on the girl's face when she comes out and goes, "Is that Dad?" And it turns around and walks back in like it happens every night.
Yeah.
I thought it was just. I mean, I think that they probably tried to do too much with the production dollars they had. I think the production values were a little bit. I'll let art directors discuss that, but they looked a little bit, 2000 rather than 2000.
But I love that. That was the bit I loved. It was kind of shitty. You can imagine someone on the other side of the credenza pushing the drawers out. And, like all of those, the painting, doing it in reverse. They made the painting fall and they switched it. Like I loved all of those shitty bits as well. And then when he gets in the car and the older one, oh, geez, for me, Toyota, you just nailed it. It was just so good. It gave me the feels. And I think the way it connected back to the previous stuff as well was great. I think for me, it was really good, and he finally got his keys and out the door and in the car, and then he puts his song on. And that song, I think, Caro, you were saying, it's just timeless. Unbelievably perfect.
Yeah. I like that. I had to watch it twice to realize he was actually looking for his keys in the first place.
Yeah.
But, I'm nitpicking. I loved it. I thought it was hilarious. And
yay, JD loved it.
So, there you go.
What do you think, ladies? Come on, someone's got to poo-poo it.
I hated it. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. We agree, JD. I think Toyota does brilliant ads. They don't, they stick to a formula, but they don't. They do a whole array of different things, but with the "oh, what a feeling" at the end, it's instantly Toyota. They have a massive creative freedom, I feel. I think the production was actually I think they've spent a lot, but they've deliberately made it a little bit kind of cliche in the, you know, horror movie scene of the ghost in the house, and that kind of plays into the whole sentiment of it. Like, I think
The romance.
well, it's just like, it's the dad joke, and it
Yeah.
is the dad. So it's kind of, it's clumsy, but it's clumsy on purpose, I think.
Yeah.
Looking at the edits that they did, like we just watched the long one, there's the shorter one on TV. I think the shorter one actually works better than the longer one. I think they kind of stretched it out for a little bit too long, and it kind of kept on going, and you don't pick up immediately what's happening, which in a sense is a good thing, but then also the story was just as powerful in a shorter form. So I think the 30-second was the winner for me. But yeah, I loved it. I love the family's like, this happens all the time. Like, he's always here doing this shit. He's always here fucking with us. And then the song at the end, and then off he goes in his old Toyota. I thought it was really lovely. I thought it was so Australian as well. Like, that's just quintessentially Aussie. And yeah, it made me smile as well. Like, it's kind of, you know, if you have any grandfathers or relatives or something that are farmers, like, it was so on point that it just brought back all these really lovely memories for me of my grandpa as well. Like, I loved it. I thought it was brilliant.
That's all.
Yeah. Tip of the hat.
Kubra.
Gabaloo.
I really liked it. I thought strategically, it's interesting. They're selling a certain line of car, the Hilux. It's not necessarily a brand ad. They're talking about a specific model. And typically in this industry, when they are trying to sell a certain model, it's very price point driven. It's very the car driving along nice windy roads with, you know, it's comfortable. It's selling all the features. So I thought it was interesting that they did almost like a brand ad to sell a specific product. But off the back of that as well, like you said, Cara, I think the longer form, although the start part really builds, like the slowness really builds the intrigue and the interest, I think for a younger audience and a younger demographic, it's probably like, you know, short attention span. They're probably not even watching it to the point where things start out. But holistically, I think it was a really interesting play by them, and a really different approach to selling this particular vehicle. I also think as well, though, in terms of the demographics, it's probably selling to, it's more of a loyalty ad to me. I think like they're selling to people who have some sort of loyalty to Toyota, whether that be, you know, their parents have always driven one, or it's a little bit of that nostalgia and that loyalty piece rather than a product sell piece, or even just a broad awareness piece. I actually quite liked that approach from them.
Totally. And how ballsy to, like, they obviously know their product and they know the cult following that their product has, that they could go to market showing a Hilux that's probably from the 50s, but the point that Hilux is still there and it's still running. Like that really,
they're selling there as well.
Yeah, like it's not a new car with the bells and whistles. It's this old Hilux that there's such a connection and loving relationship to. It's like your workhorse. It's your you know, your right arm kind of thing. I thought was a really interesting tact as well.
There's a really interesting piece in the it was The Age on Saturday. They were talking about I suddenly sounded like a really old man. I was reading in The Age on Saturday. They're talking about they're expecting a massive pickup on electric utes. They're saying the electric ute is just going to absolutely take off, simply because it's like they've all got solar out in the bush now, and they just charge it up. It's not going to cost them anything in diesel, and you know, like I think there might actually be a little bit of that. It's like, remember this, remember you love it, remember, you know, it will bloody last forever. It's bulletproof. Like, I think they're just reinforcing all of those things because I think they can see a threat coming over the horizon.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it won't be long before you find, in the market, if it's not already here, that there'll be a hybrid that's there, and then that'll be followed by the fully powered. I know Ford's bringing out a full electric ute next year as well, so it's going to be interesting to see that market take off. But as you say, JD, I think the solar out in the bush is going to be a huge thing, but they're still the most sold cars. The four-wheel drive utes are still the most sold cars in Australia, and I think it's like Hilux #1, Ford Ranger #2, and then you've got sort of some of the other variants there. Before you even get close to a passenger car, it doesn't even come close. So many more of them are sold than your general passenger car. But yeah, interesting. I thought it was a cricker of a crikey cracker of an ad, an absolute ripper. And I've got one for us next week that I saw, and we're going to touch on this just briefly, but we'll talk about it next week. We've just got the latest "Where the bloody hell are you" iteration. I don't know if anyone saw that, and we've gone animated. So we'll take a look at that next week.
Ooh.
But
Ooh.
before we do any of that kind of tomfoolery with an animated ad saying, well, where the bloody hell are you? Or where the hell are you? What the fuck? I'm going to talk about my absolute favorite all-time podcast. I think this is probably the podcast that got me into podcasts forever. I listened to this, and it's about a gentleman from the States called Adnan Syed. And recently, this guy that sat in jail for 23 years has had charges dropped against him based on DNA evidence proving that it couldn't have been him that committed the crime. So anyone out there who's listened to the podcast, I thought we have to tip our hat at that, thinking, my God, this podcast, and even, the teacher's pet that played here in Australia with Hedley Thomas, and how they've gone after Chris Dawson, and the situation, anyone that's listened to the podcast is just blown away that this has actually happened, like that he's finally free, and not just out waiting another trial, but the charges are dropped. Like the significance of that is just enormous.
They haven't declared it innocent, though. That's the interesting thing. They've just said, we don't have, the case was wrong. We broke the law. We have to dismiss the charge. But then are they not saying he's not guilty yet?
Well, I think
he is. I don't think he's guilty. I think it all points to but it's interesting that the prosecutors have left that little door open.
I think part of that is also to save face. I think that the prosecutors and the police who have pursued this guy relentlessly, and partly because of his beliefs, I believe, and partly because of, he's part of a minority, but that's all for another conversation. And I guess the what the fuck for me on this one is the power of a podcast, and really thinking about, this medium. I don't know how old it is. It might be 6 or 7 years. I might even be older than that. But the way it's come to the fore in our space, and I guess the impact that it's having on, whether it's crime or on people also looking for advice or thoughts, and I know there's one at the moment called the Tradie podcast, and there's a bunch of them about cars and car sales, is looking at, like all of that.
Glittery bones of advertising. That's one of my favorites.
Which one?
The glittery bones of advertising.
Yes, right. The glittery bones of advertising as well. It's just the power of all of this stuff, and I guess the impact that it's having. And, I think for me, even sometimes I think, oh, well, I pick up that latest book that I've bought to look at it, or we'll actually just get a little cheeky 40-minute hit of a podcast. So I don't know, just thought it'd be a really interesting what the fuck, first of all, that he's out, but also to get you guys to provide your opinion on both the case, but also podcasts and their power. Boom.
I think it's the power of public opinion as well. And we all kind of, with social media and the internet and all of that kind of stuff, we're constantly able to a degree to find answers and search further than perhaps the news is narrating to us. So I think people really get invested in these cases, particularly that we're talking about now, and they almost become advocates as well. So like someone that's not even associated with anyone that's involved in the case can start, petitions over here and petitions over there, and websites and forums and stuff, and really push perhaps the proceedings or looking back into a case. So I think it's fair to say, perhaps without the podcast, that maybe he wouldn't have got off, or maybe there wouldn't have been such public interest in looking back into the case.
Can I leap in there?
No, you can't.
Sorry, I've done
Because you're going to go against me.
I've done something. I'm not going to listen to you. No. The only reason the case was looked at again was because the law in Maryland, whatever they call it, was
Baltimore.
changed. That allowed,
Yep.
so they changed the law that said anyone who was convicted of a crime when they were less than 20 years old and has served more than 2 decades in jail can have their case reopened.
Yep.
So as soon as they passed that law, his lawyer went straight to the public prosecutor and said, I reckon you should have a look at this one. And at the same time, the girl, I forget the girl who does the serial podcast.
Chaundry, what's her name? She's an absolute gun.
She is an absolute crackerjack. She's
she's incredible.
She's a reporter, but she's like, she kind of gets that all of the legal aspect of it.
Yeah.
And she got involved, and then she started doing this podcast at the same time, like preparing for this podcast at the same time that happened. And it was like, this is a walk-up start of a complete miscarriage of justice. And interestingly, Saeed has not yet said what he's going to do as a result being freed.
Yeah, and there's no, I think she also mentioned when she was speaking on his behalf that they've not made any decisions yet about seeking, retribution or any kind of, value for the time that he actually spent behind bars. And JD, I think that's why you'll find the director of public prosecution over there, I'm not sure what they're called exactly, but I think you'll find that that's why the door is just a little ajar, because if you want to go us for 100 million instead of what you might have earned, so instead you'll get 1.6 million or whatever. But again, at the thought that he actually didn't do it, and having listened to the podcast, and I'm presuming you guys might have heard some of it as well, but just extraordinary to think that 23 years of this young guy's life who had lots to give to everyone. And that doesn't even discount the thought that Heyman Lee, the young lady that was murdered, like she's obviously gone, but no killer, like to still have the killer at large. So all of the energy focused in the wrong area for me. Just
they have two suspects they're very interested in.
Well, they believe the DNA actually proves someone did it, although they don't say that in the article. But I think that's extraordinary. And I don't know if anyone remembers the characters from it, but there was always a bunch of sort of conversation around a guy by the name of Jay, whether he was the guy or not. It was just weird, some of the stuff that they uncovered and spoke about there. But anyway, I think we'll park that there, because we need to go from a little bit of a low on, dealing with that kind of shit, although it's a very big high that he's out, to harmonics. And guess who's got it this week? It's the lady who's got the best dulcet tones. I heard her warming up before we got on air today. So I'm looking forward to a little bit of what they call, or as Forrest Gump says, singing.
I'm up today, and
You are.
I'm super embarrassed, but I am actually going to sing today. So
Bring it, I say.
It's fine to me.
Now, JD, I'm hoping that the singing puts you off, because I'm annoyed, and you too, Cara. I'm sick of losing. I'm sick of being like the guy who only gets one.
Pudding.
I cannot carry a tune, so this is probably going to be very difficult.
Might have been smart to slip Gabs a 50 before, just so I had all the answers.
That's not for bravery. I think we give you a point for bravery. Like gold star.
That's it. Give me a point to start. Give me a little head start. Okay, Gabaloo, let's hear it.
All right. So in honor of our Out of the Week and the Spirit of the Sky soundtrack in that, I'm going to be singing songs that are incredibly synonymous with really big TV ads that we've all probably seen.
Okay.
So you're going to have to cast your mind
Lean
back.
in.
Some of these are from quite some time ago, probably 90s, 2000s, sort of. Sort of all right. I'm scared. Okay, first one's easy. That's the way, I like it,
The way,
I know that. I know the song.
It's
a healthcare. It's
HBA.
No, think burgers. That's the
Hungry
way.
Jacks.
Yeah.
Ah.
That was easy.
All right.
That was a guess. I had no idea, but I just guessed it.
Yeah, no, neither. Okay.
Oh,
No, I
no.
remember that. I do remember it because you have it your own way.
Okay,
All right.
Gabs, let's go again. You and I were connected. I can feel it.
I can feel it coming in the
Cadbury.
air.
Cadbury. Oh, was it
That-
me or Caro?
That
It was
Cadbury.
me.
Oh,
That's the
gone.
I can feel it.
Oh, now look what you've done.
Oh, no.
That's still one of my favorite ads ever.
Yeah.
And I still can't remember. I'm sure you guys told me, like, whether it's a guy in a suit or whether it's an animatronic or an animation, but so good. And his little, the snarl.
Yeah.
Proper gorilla. I thought it was a trained gorilla. I really did.
Gorilla.
All right. This one's really easy. I've been to see.
Qantas.
Yeah.
Good
Qantas.
job. It's a tie. It's a
I want you to
three-way
get a few
tie.
more lyrics out.
Win.
Okay. Push me and then just touch me.
Ah,
Feel like
pan ice?
Ah.
No, it's a beer ad.
that. Yeah.
It's a beer ad with
Yeah.
the tongue.
Yes.
Oh,
That's
Chewy.
it.
Heineken.
Chewies.
Yes, JD.
Damn it.
Louis.
Yeah, I thought it was hard ice. That tongue was creepy as fuck. And it's like crossing the road.
Remember it
and
dives
stuff.
into the bath, the ice bath.
Yeah.
So good. Nice. Gabs.
Okay. It's gonna be really bad. It's got to be perfect.
Perfect.
It's got to be.
It sounds like a healthcare fund again.
I feel like it's like
Gotta
a
be
bread
perfect.
ad.
What's gonna be perfect for your baby?
Toilet
Formula.
nappies.
Yeah.
Huggies.
Huggies.
Yes.
Oh no, see, out of no.
No.
Not got anything. Nothing.
All right, what's the score? What are we at? JD?
Caro
I'm
2,
on
John
two.
2, me 1.
2,
Yeah.
2, 1.
I'm your Venus. I'm your fire. Your
Venus, Gillette, razors. Yes.
3.
I was going to say that, and then I thought, no, that's too obvious. That's
Oh, this is embarrassing. Okay, last one. Second last one. I'm picking up the good vibrations.
oh, it's a Wally. It's a
Good, the good vibration.
no,
Rev?
Pardon?
Rev milk.
No, it's a electronics store. Good.
Good guys?
Oh,
Good guys.
Yes.
Fuck.
All right, this is the last one.
I'm just shit at this. That's sorry.
What do you mean? You've got 2. I've only got 1.
Yeah,
I
but
got 4.
Cara's doing well.
just go and
Last one.
rest on your laurels. Then
When I
Oh,
die
that's good.
and you lay me to
Toyota Hilux.
Yay. Well played.
I won.
Well done. Well done. I
That-
do have, can I just before
Yes.
you go, you can cut this out if you want. I heard something hilarious this week. If you discount all their car lines that start with that are either named after an animal or a bird, you can put the word anal in front of any Ford product. I'm going to leave you with that.
And that, my friends, luckily, JD, you broke up right at the poignant time when I think you said anal, but that, my friends, is another edition of the Bones of Advertising.
Anal focus?
That's right.
Anal falcon?
No,
What?
forget birds and animals. But
Ah,
anal focus,
Anal focus.
anal
Anal
explorer, anal commander, anal probe,
Anal
Anal-
ranger.
anal
Raptor.
raptor.
I love it. So fucking bizarre.
Alrighty then. That, my friend, is another edition of the Bones of Advertising with a little bit of glitter sprinkled on top. Don't go change, and we'll see you next week. Toodaloo for now.
Bye now.
Bye.